Hi, welcome back. Today I want to chat with you a little bit about the Hate U Give movie. If you saw one of my recent vlogs, you might know that I had the opportunity to see an early screening of The Hate U Give based on the novel by Angie Thomas. The Hate U Give has just been everywhere for the last year. It was Angie Thomas's debut novel. It is a very powerful book. If you have not read it yet, highly recommend you do so. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about the book and talk about the movie and some of the similarities and differences and just my general thoughts on both of them. I read the book last year and really loved it. So to give you a little bit of a synopsis, The Hate U Give is a young adult contemporary novel, but I would say probably everybody should read this book, not just teenagers, adults as well. I think it's a very important and very relevant book given the current climate in the United States. It follows a 16-year-old girl named Star who sees her childhood best friend be shot and killed by a police officer during a routine traffic stop. And it is about her dealing with the aftermath of that incident. Also kind of parsing her identity. She lives in a mostly black, low-income neighborhood, but she goes to a mostly white private school in a different neighborhood and has a white boyfriend, and so it's a lot about her kind of dealing with grief and dealing with the aftermath of that going to trial and her dealing with her identity and figuring out how to handle those issues. So that's what the book is about. The movie follows that story as well. I think it is incredibly well done. It's incredibly nuanced, and one thing that I do want to say about it is that while I think it highlights a lot of the problems that exist, it is not an anti-cop movie. So just to put that out there for those of you who are concerned, her uncle is a police officer, and I think they do a really good job of, in a nuanced way, talking about the fact that not all cops are bad or are racist, but also at the same time, and I think in the film, I'll get to this, they do a particularly good job of dealing with this. At the same time, there are these sort of underlying structurally racist things that do affect people, and I think they do a fantastic job of parsing those issues out and talking about them. So anyway, that's the book. If you haven't read the book, highly recommend it, and absolutely recommend the movie. I would tell everybody to go and see it. I think it is so powerful, so well done. The acting is amazing. The actor who plays her dad, let me look up who that is actually, I should tell you. Russell Hornsby plays Maverick, Star's dad, and he was just amazing. His acting was incredible. I mean, in general, the acting in this film was incredible, but I feel like he should really win an award for what he does. And this movie just starts out with a bang. I mean, I cried and teared up several times throughout the movie. It's very emotional, it's very intense, but it also has light moments, and the characters are just wonderful. And oh man, it goes so many places in terms of just talking about the realities of what being black in America looks like right now, and the ways that there are these subtle issues that people of color face on a regular basis that white people don't. And it really unpacks that, and it does it in a really nuanced way. One thing that I loved about the book, and I also think the movie does a good job of as well, is it kind of questions this thing that sometimes happens when there is a death of a black man. Is sometimes people will say, oh, well, he was involved in drugs, so like whatever. And someone in the movie actually says, like, well, somebody was going to shoot him anyway. Even if during the time that they were being shot, they were completely innocent and there was no reason for that to have happened. And I think it really does a good job of getting into that, and also getting into, especially in the film, some of the reasons why that exists in some of these low-income communities where there is just a lack of opportunity, and that these are people, they're not just these sort of myths. And so in this case, Khalil, her best friend from childhood, and you know, it's like the cutest thing ever. Her and her two best friends had like Harry Potter wands and were like this Harry Potter trio when they were kids. And so now they're teenagers, and his mom is an addict and out of the picture. His grandmother has raised him and his sister, but she has cancer and got fired from her job because she was a janitor at a hospital and they thought it would affect it. She got fired, so they have no income, and so he turns to the only thing available to him in their community, which is selling drugs in order to take care of the family. And so while obviously that is illegal, I think they do a good job of parsing like what that is, and also the fact that while there's an equal amount of drug use in Black communities and in white communities, the majority of prison sentences and arrests in drug-related cases are in Black communities. So that's one thing. And that's something I think people often don't talk about and don't think about, and so this movie does a really great job highlighting that and kind of explicitly talking about it. Oh gosh, there's like so many things I could say about this. So point being, I think you see that even though the routine traffic stop had nothing to do with the drug-related stuff, she has a friend who says, well, somebody was going to shoot him anyway, and it's like, well, that doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it okay if he was innocent in that moment, and also that he's a person. He's not this stereotype. So I love that they really unpack some of those things. I love the family dynamic. That was so good. Star and her brothers and her parents relationship with each other is just so beautiful and so strong, and the way it's portrayed on screen is amazing and so heartwarming. Gosh, there were so many things that made me really emotional like during this movie. And it starts out, the very first scene in the movie, okay, I'm like getting emotional thinking about this, but the very first scene in the movie is Star as a maybe 5 or 6 year old with her older brother and her baby brother sitting at a kitchen table with her parents, and her dad talking to them about how to behave if a cop ever pulls you over to make sure that you don't get shot, basically. And that's a real thing. That's a real conversation that happens with children even at a really young age, and it's intense, but it's real and it's really good, and it gets at a lot of these things. And even it's interesting the way that they handle things with her friends at her school, and the ways that people who don't think that they're racist actually can be quite racist and not understanding. And I think it goes so many places, and it speaks to so many issues that I think need to be talked about and need to be addressed, but in a nuanced way where it's not like anti-white people or anti-cop. It does a great job of unpacking some of these things with, I mean, prejudice and race and identity and police violence and the problems of that. So anyway, I loved it. Angie Thomas has a cameo, which was great. That was fun. Everybody in the theater kind of like freaked out when we saw Angie Thomas on screen, so that was kind of cool. Look for that a little bit later on in the film. But guys, this movie was just fantastic. I think it did a amazing job of taking what was in the book and expanding on some of it. There were a couple things that got left out. One thing that I loved that was in the book that did not make it into the movie, and I kind of wish they had, maybe it was a time constraint thing, is that with one of her friends from her school who is Asian, in the book, Angie gets at the fact that there are other types of racial prejudice for people of other groups, and that gets addressed in terms of her friend. That comes out later on. I wish they had done that in the movie. They didn't, and there was like the perfect opportunity for it. There was a scene where I thought they were going to, and they didn't, and maybe it was a deleted scene and it just got taken out. But I kind of wish there had been more discussion of not only is this a issue for Black Americans, but this is an issue for other people of color in America as well. But yeah, they get into a lot of things and do it in a really nuanced and complex way. The casting was amazing. The way it was shot was amazing. The girl who plays Star is just wonderful and fantastic. And I love kind of the different types of characters, and yeah, it was really good. So there's probably more that I'm forgetting and things that I could say about it, but overall I gave 5 stars to the book. I would give 5 stars to the film as well. I highly recommend you go see it and make everybody else go see it as well and have conversations about it, because I think it's going to be a big conversation starter. I am very grateful. Thank you so much to 21st Century Fox and to my friend over at the NYC Fangirl for getting me into the early screening. I really appreciate it. I will be going to see it again. I'm definitely going to take my husband along, because I think it's going to be one where we're going to sit and want to talk a lot about it afterwards. So all that to say, if you haven't read the book, read the book. If you haven't seen the movie, see the movie. If you can't get people to read the book, take them to go see the movie, because I hope this blows up. I hope it becomes a moment in our culture for talking about these issues, because I think they're so important. If you guys have seen the movie, if you've read the book, if you have any thoughts, please talk to me in the comments down below. Have a conversation, what your thoughts were on the movie, what you thought about the book, and how they did things differently or similarly. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you guys want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.